for the month of September only, and only for ASP listeners, there is a 50% discount on CS Instant Coffee. Go to csinstant.coffee, use the code ADVENTURE at checkout, and get 50% off your first order. Guys, I really encourage you to check it out. It's my favorite instant coffee, and I take it with me on all my bike and backpacking trips. Give them a shot this month. This is the Adventure Sports Podcast, trying to help you find adventure every day in any stage of life. You're going to hear from explorers, adventurers, business owners, and anyone living their life a little more out of the box than usual. As you could probably tell from the intro, we're doing it a little different today. My wife and I just got back from a heck of a trip to Florida with our showing off our new baby to all the family. We got a big family, so it was crazy. So we just got in, red eye, to Denver. We're pretty tired, so we recorded this. But thought it'd be insightful for some of you if you have a relationship or you're married or even you have kids and you want to do adventures. You know, those relationships need maintaining while you're before the trip, during the trip, and after the trip. And I know for me personally, balancing all that is very important as well as necessary if I want all those aspects of my life to be healthy. I hope you learned something. It's just my wife and I talking about our experience. I hope it's insightful. Maybe it's boring. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for listening. And again, you'll notice there's no more Friday episode. It's just going to be Monday, Thursday, like we used to do, and we're going to continue that way. Show's just a lot of work, and I got to cut back for a little bit with this newborn. But anyway, thanks for all the listeners who have reached out to us recently. We love hearing from you. And feel free to reach out to us. Email is info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And also, if you'd like to support the show financially, you can become a patron, a supporter at patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Check it all out in the show notes. All right, y'all. Talk soon. And I'll see you Thursday. This is going to be a little different, okay?
Okay.
You're here with me, and we're talking together. Our baby's asleep.
Right.
Dogs are whining out on the porch. I'll try to eliminate that as much as possible, but there's not a whole lot of room in this little place, is there?
No, there's a lot going on. It's a little crowded.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how long he stays asleep, Leon. But we got an eye on him, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, today we're just going to talk about what the experience is like for Emily when I'm gone, because in our relationship, I'm the one doing the adventures usually,
right? And
they have been everything from afternoon, a weekend, to some are like 40-something days long.
Yeah, I think your record is 37 days. Maybe?
Oh, 37 days.
I think it was 37 days
since we've been married.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, before I did like a 6-month trip right before we got married.
Right.
Yes, but no mas.
No, you were pedaling away from me before we got married.
Was I?
Yeah.
I like to think of just pedaling towards you, but okay.
But in the wrong direction.
Okay. Well, so this is a little different. We're both recording on my mic, and we're going to talk to Emily about what it's like for the spouse of an adventurer, or the partner, or a sibling, or whatever it is, when you're not the one adventuring, but you were the one at home. And it's going to look different for everybody. Family dynamics are different. We just had a kid, so we're not by any means experts. We've been married for 5 years, which is a drop in the bucket for some of you. But for others, maybe you're not even there yet. And for some of you, maybe you don't adventure yet, but you've been married for 20 years and you want to see what that's going to look like for your spouse in your relationship while you're gone. And so, Emily, I don't even know where to start. Any suggestions?
Okay, so the first thing we wrote down on our list of things to talk about was knowing what you're getting into.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's a big one.
So what was that like for us? You met me. I was already doing that stuff. Why don't you tell it from your perspective? What did it seem like?
So I think the big thing to consider is kind of like those really awkward first date questions, first or second date questions, I guess, that you would ask somebody you were dating about, like, do you want kids, or where do you want to live long term, or things like that. When you and I started dating and got together, I knew that you were doing bike trips, and I didn't anticipate asking you to stop. So I knew that that was something that if our relationship kept going, if we got married, wherever we ended up living, I needed to be prepared for you to be potentially gone for significant amounts of time during those trips. And I knew that going into it. So it was a lot easier to swallow when those events came up, I guess.
Well, what about in reality? How was it?
In reality, I think it depended on why you were going to adventure and where we were at in our relationship when you left. If we were in a really good space and you left to go on a trip, I was usually pretty bummed out. I'm really sad that you were gone. And then if you were really getting on my nerves and we were not in a good space and you were leaving on a trip,
most of them.
it was like, okay, see ya.
Right.
And it was okay. So it can work both ways.
It's almost easier.
Yes.
Like, get out of my hair.
Yeah, it's one less person to take care of.
I want
for
you.
sure.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, no, I get that. So what, for you, what do you feel when I'm gone? Like, are you, do you ever want to go? Or are you kind of like, this is your thing? I don't really want to know what this is like, but I want you to experience it. How does that go?
That depends on what you're doing. So some of your bike trips, I have not wanted to go on.
Why?
Well, okay, so you did the Colorado Trail Race with your friend Jordan that was just on the show. And we slept in the parking lot of a Jewish synagogue.
Yeah.
The night before.
Yeah, we did.
We ate rotisserie chicken with our fingers because we didn't have silverware, sitting in this parking lot, and there was a dead squirrel in the parking lot. And then we got up at, 2 a.m. To get to Durango to drop you guys off. And then I drove all the way back to Denver by myself. I had no desire to do that bike trip. That sounded awful.
Yeah, I really didn't want to do it either.
I know. Well, yeah, because you called, 8 hours later?
Yeah.
Complaining and talking about how unprepared you were for the trip and all the hike and bike you guys had to do so far. And I said, I'm not coming to get you.
I didn't want you to come get me. I just was venting. I was not in the best headspace during that trip anyway. So
no. So that one I would not have wanted to go on. You've done a couple of week-long trips to Zion National Park and to the Grand Canyon. That I've been really jealous that I did want to go on those. And you're planning, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there and just make sure that it happens. You're planning to kayak from Cuba back to Florida at some point in the near future.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit jealous now that we have Leon. I probably won't be able to kayak. I might be able to go.
Right.
But I wouldn't be able to do it with you, and that's kind of a bummer.
And that's like a weekend trip. It's not...
Right, it won't be super long. It
just
would be a very
days.
cool experience. So.
Yeah, you might be able to do that. You could do that. Yeah, my mom could watch Leon.
That's true. We do have 7 grandparents that are all fighting for one grandchild's attention.
Yeah.
So we might be fine.
You're gonna have to get one for each of them.
No.
Okay. we'll sprinkle some dogs in there to help spread it out.
Yeah, that'll be
Couple
good.
dogs.
Yeah, your mom would love that.
I already got 2. No, that's funny.
So yeah, it depends on what the trip is. Sometimes I'm like, go for it. This is all you. And then other times I feel like this is such a bummer that I'm missing out on certain things.
From your perspective, is there anything that I could, because for me, these trips are kind of all encompassing.
Yeah.
If you've been on an adventure, it's like survival. Especially if it's a journey, you are out for days or weeks, and it's like find water, find food, find shelter. It all depends on what kind of adventure it is, of course. So my day, you're not really busy, but you are so busy with like instinctual kind of these habits that started coming up for you. well, like, what is it? I don't even know what I'm asking. Like, what is it like? Does anything change for you day to day? Like, I know it does. I'm just kind of setting this up.
Yeah.
What about your day changes when I'm gone? What's easier and what's harder?
So I think you were saying, like, the first question you were saying, like, what could you do better? And you said, like, the trips are all encompassing. And I will say that gets really hard sometimes. Mm-hmm. That, like you said, even if you're not busy for whatever reason on one of these trips during that day, your day-to-day life is so different from mine. Excuse me. You have to cut that out.
It's fine.
Your day-to-day life is so different than what mine is. Mm-hmm. And then if for whatever reason we can't communicate, you don't have service or you are too busy or whatever, it feels very disjointed. And that can be hard.
Yeah, when I come back.
Well, just when there's not a lot of communication during the trip itself. And I know some of that is just logistics, cell phone service, having your hands free.
Battery life.
Especially when you do the guided trips, you have lots of other people around you. It's hard to be on the phone during that time. Mm-hmm. But it also is hard. That makes you feel a little bit left behind when there's also no communication on top of that. It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I'd say the hardest part about that for me is, like, I don't know how to communicate to you everything that's happened. Like, sure. Oh my gosh, we ran across a pack of coyotes and almost slipped off this trail and got lost for a little bit. And it's just so much. And I know that when other people go on adventures and I'm not there, like friends or people I'm close to, and I know their trip's going to be amazing. I mean, day-to-day life just goes by so much faster than their trip.
Yes.
Like a week out on those guided trips feels like a month,
Absolutely.
So I come back like my brain's mush just with everything that we experienced. I'm filthy. I smell like campfire. And it's just like this state of euphoria. Like you sit back and just think about the last week and say, oh my gosh, that was awesome. And then trying to transition back to normal life is sometimes tough after that.
And I think it gets hard to communicate on those trips when I know you've had so many amazing things happen during the day, and maybe you only have 15 minutes to call me. And you think, well, I'm not going to be able to get through everything in 15 minutes, so I'll just wait and talk to her later. And then that puts off that phone conversation where maybe by the end of the day, it's like, oh, I haven't heard from him. And it's not purposeful. It's not malicious. I know that you didn't just forget that you were married to someone.
Well,
we'll save that for a different episode.
No, I'm just playing.
So, but it does get hard when there's not the consistent communication that there would be if you and I were both home and working at the same time. Right. So
I would say, how often is too often for a trip? And how long of a trip is too long for us? I know this is obviously different for everybody.
Sure.
We've had guests on the show gone from their spouse for like 6 months.
Right.
I don't recommend that.
Yeah.
But
I don't. That's going to be hard.
Some couples can do it. I mean, by all means.
That's
but
a hard pass.
We're not one of them. So what's too long for you, and what's too often?
Okay. So some of that has changed now that we have Leon.
Oh, for sure.
So since he's been born, you've had, I think, two trips you've had, and they were like 2 nights and 3 days, right?
Yeah, like weekends.
Yeah. Like an extended weekend. And those were fine. You also have to preface that with the fact that I like being alone.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a little harder now with the baby, but I enjoy that free time when it's that short. And there's lots of people that may not feel that way, especially with a 3 or a 4 month old. I would say the trip that you did, the Southern Tier trip that you did, that was, I think,
2016.
Yes, that was 35. That was just over a month because we had budgeted 40 days and you came in just under that.
Yeah.
That was really, really challenging.
No kids then, of course. One dog.
Yeah, no kids, one dog. No. We didn't have.
Oh, you got hurt. A dog. Yeah, that was part of my payback was you got a dog while I was gone.
Right.
Who I love.
I tried very hard to get a hold of you, and you didn't answer me, and so I adopted him.
You know where I
anyways.
was? I was in Mason, Texas when you adopted him. I remember I was sitting on the bench and I'm like, there's my name. And
And then I called and said, hey, we got a
I
dog.
had no service and I was like, all right, go.
Yeah. So that goes back to the communication piece. I think I called you twice, sent a bunch of text messages. I think I tried to get a hold of you on Facebook Messenger and email you. And then I gave up and said, I'm getting the dog anyways. Hopefully he likes him.
Yeah.
But that trip was really hard lengthwise because a little over a month was enough time for me to be in a completely different routine.
Yeah.
And then you came back and I had to get out of that routine again. So that was, the 7-day trips that you've done, those are great. I feel like those are perfect. 7 to 10 days is it's a niche.
You can fit a lot into that.
You can.
A lot of adventures are
Yeah.
less than 10 days. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now that's interesting. I mean, we
Because-
don't know. I don't know any of the answers, listeners. I'm asking these questions like as the first time.
Yeah, we have nothing figured out.
Right.
We just do a lot of fighting and laughing and coming at each other with sarcasm and
Figuring it out along
hoping
the
for
way.
the best. Yeah. Because there's a cycle to your leaving and coming back.
Okay.
Right? So that's number 2 on our list of things
Oh,
to talk
yeah.
about. When you leave, let's use the 7 to 10 day trips as an example because those are the best ones.
Okay.
So when you leave, usually the first couple days, I'm not gonna lie, are glorious. I'm sure. Yeah, I can't imagine. Because I don't get to adventure because I stay home. I'm just kidding. But I'm on my own schedule. I have no one else to take care of besides me. And even with Leon, I get to take care of him the way I want to. Right? I can watch as much Netflix as I want. Mm-hmm. I can eat as much ice cream as I want to.
Right.
I can sit on the couch all day. And if no one's here to see me or make me feel bad about it, you don't do that on purpose.
Right.
But when there's someone else in the house,
you can let go a little bit.
you just feel like you can't do that.
You're on a little vacation.
Absolutely. So the first, I would say 3 days are vacation. I can do whatever I want and it's great. Right? So then let's say the next 2 days or so of the trip, I start to miss you. I start to get a little sad that I come home from work every night. No one's here. I don't have any help with the dogs and now with the baby.
Yeah.
It's very quiet because I don't know if you guys know this about Mason, but he's never not talking, singing, making noises, beatboxing, dropping things.
And dance a lot. Too.
Dancing a lot. It's just constant motion. And so that's a bit of an adjustment when it's gone. Yeah. And then he says, why aren't you talking to me? And I say, because you're just making noise. So those next couple days, 3 days of vacation, the next 2 days I miss you. Right?
Okay.
It's a big adjustment to being by yourself. And then you have to be careful, in my experience, with the next few days after that. So we're talking like
5 days in.
Yeah, we're talking 5-6 days in. If it's a 10-day trip, maybe it's by day 7. It's been a week, right? Because it never fails that when you're gone, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Something breaks.
Something breaks. One of the dogs gets sick. Leon had to go get his 2-month shots, and that was just the appointment time. And there's no sense in you canceling a trip for one doctor's appointment kind of thing.
Right.
But it never fails that something goes wrong. And even before Leon, when I was working, I'm getting ready to go back to work, it felt like, I was getting up so early in the morning, taking care of the dogs, at work all day. I've got to pack. I'm so spoiled. I have to pack my own lunch, get my own food ready, and then come home, take care of the dogs, get dinner ready myself, the laundry myself, house cleaning myself. That depending on your headspace, there's also a window of resentment that inevitably shows up for me, at any rate.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that I know the trip's for a good reason, and I know you're coming back home, and I also know that I agreed to this. right? Like I said, you should go. This sounds great.
Yeah.
Have fun. Go do it.
I will say, you push me out the door a lot.
Absolutely.
Like I will say, no, I'm not going to go do that.
It's too much.
I do feel selfish, like I
Yeah.
can't go do this weekend trip. And you're like, you need to make sure you go do this.
Yeah.
And I want to say I appreciate that.
Well, so
You push me out the door oftentimes when I wouldn't go myself.
Right. So, but I think that's part 4 of the cycle.
Because you want that vacay.
I do. I do want that vacay. I need ice cream and Netflix without judgment.
And without me in the way.
Asking me questions about the show that I'm watching.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I think, so then that's part 4 of that cycle, right?
Okay.
It's vacation, missing you,
Okay.
resentment, because it is hard to run the household by yourself
Yeah.
and go to work while someone else is literally just out having fun. You're just out having fun. Even if it's a guided trip, you love it.
I will say
Right.
it is more than fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is purpose driven.
Yes.
Usually. And I know all of you out there who've done adventures, you know what I'm talking about.
It's type 2
but
fun.
A lot of times I don't think I know you don't know that feeling
Right.
like I do. I know you don't.
Sure.
Because you haven't had that kind of experience before,
Yeah.
which I want to change one day, but
Yeah.
that's another thing I've realized. Just because you're an adventurer, that doesn't mean it's best for you to marry another adventurer or to be in a relationship with another adventurer. So many of my idols, people I highly admire, have partnered with people who are really from the other side of the spectrum. And it does create this healthy balance. We are not opposite, but we do short stuff together that we can squeeze
I
in.
love doing that.
Yes.
I love traveling. I
Yes.
love hiking.
We
I
love
love being out there, camping, all of that.
Yeah.
But we've talked about that a lot. It's really hard to have both people doing those kind of adventures. I think maybe depending on your jobs. I know you've had a lot of people on your show that both people in the relationship work remotely.
So they'll do the adventure together.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't, right? I'm a teacher that has a lot of time off, but it's also on a very set schedule. I cannot just come and go as I please.
Yeah, you know your schedule the next year.
Yeah. I have this is another way we're really different. I have my whole planner color-coded and mapped out through the rest of the school year.
For a year.
So.
She has a planner planned out for a year. I don't know where my planner is. I have one that I got at a yard sale. It happened to be this year. I don't know where it is.
It was a good effort.
Well, so what is the step 4 you said?
Step 4 of this adventure, you leaving cycle, whatever you want to call it, is that you come back. Maybe it's part 4A and 4B. 4A is that you come back so refreshed. And you come back so happy, so excited, so ready to tackle whatever project is next, whatever's in front of you. You're excited to be home, usually. Not like, oh my gosh, it was awful, I missed you, but just like, okay, I've had my break and this was fun. You come back so energetic. You talk a mile a minute about all the wonderful things that happened on the trip and how crazy it was. And that is such a wonderful thing to see and to be around. It's so re-energizing. And I know that despite being a little bit lonely or a little bit aggravated, the payoff for how you come back as my husband is 100% worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So we want to thank our sponsor, Athletic Brewing, for promoting a healthy lifestyle through making some of the world's best non-alcoholic craft beer. They make excellent tasting NA for healthy, active, modern adults. They use certified all-organic grains, and each can of non-alcoholic beer is only between 50 and 70 calories. They have IPA, golden ale, stouts, and tons of seasonal offerings. And recently, they actually just took home the gold medal at the U.S. Open Beer Championships for their double hop IPA. If you would like to get your hands on some, you can save 15% by using the code ADVENTURE at athleticbrewing.com. Athletic Brewing, the best tasting way to keep your promises. And I also want to thank our sponsor, CS Instant Coffee, for making this show happen. They make 100% Arabica instant coffee. They use compostable packaging, and each package makes about 20 ounces of coffee. So I'll take one of those with me on an overnight trip, and it makes 2 pretty good-sized cups of coffee. And it's an awesome feeling knowing I can just throw that in my backpack, find some hot water, and I'm good to go. Save 20% by using the code ADVENTURE at csinstant.coffee.
I would only say then for B, the other teeny tiny little smidge of that is no. It's just readjusting back into having someone else here. Of saying like this has, especially those 30-day trips, this has been all me taking care of it, my schedule, my systems, my routine. Now I have to reincorporate someone back into that system.
Who does not follow those structures as well. As readily.
For sure. There's no argument there. So that is part of it too. But again, that payoff is an incredibly happy partner who is equally excited to be back home and tackle those adventures because you had the other type right before that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really distracted by the dog that is eating through our porch.
It sounds like she's chewing on something.
It really does.
That's okay.
We'll deal with that later.
Yeah. We have a wall between us, but you can still hear him.
Yeah.
I know that's good. That's good to hear. And I'll say there's a cycle on the adventure itself.
I know it has to be hard for you. Yeah.
No. I'm incredibly fortunate to have a partner that is so understanding. I don't think we'd have made it this long if either one of us had the because I haven't seen the values of your systems. Emily is incredibly type A, incredibly put together, like organized, clean,
verging on unhealthy sometimes, which is why I married. But that's why I married you, was to balance me out.
Well, same here, because I went home. We just got back from Florida, and we were like, I was picking apart my family for like, Mom, you gotta have this cleaned out. You gotta have this organized because it makes life so much easier. Trust me. Emily's taught me this. And I think it got on my dad's nerves, especially. He was making fun of me. But
then you also locked the keys in the car because you didn't put the keys back in the key pocket of the diaper bag.
Oh, me? Yeah. See, so but
it's where the keys go.
Yeah, but I will tell you, it helps me to be more organized with my life to where it makes all this possible. Sure. Before I didn't have to. I was just like a college kid, a bachelor that. I mean, you didn't need structure to live your life in a lot of ways. Now it's like, all right, there's responsibilities in place. There's a lot more coming. Mm-hmm. And if you still want this adventure in your life, it's going to take a little more organization. And in the long run, that just leads to a better, healthier outlook and healthier life. And I'll say the cycle on the trip itself is kind of similar. You're so stoked. First few days is awesome. Right. Then I will say I miss you, especially since Leon. I'm just like, even these weekend trips, I'm like, God, I can't wait to get back to them. And after a day, I'm like, yay, I miss you guys so much. And I look at pictures of them in the tent at night, like just scrolling through till I fall asleep. And I just never saw that coming for me. Here we are. And then it is a little bit, I would say a healthy cycle is when you're on an adventure and you're so ready to get back home. You're so excited for those daily routines, for the morning coffee, for honestly some modern luxuries, running water even. You know what I mean? It depends on how rugged your trip is, but I remember some trips coming back and saying, I just can't wait to just look at the outdoors through a window. Right. Rather than being out here and feeling all the elements that are a lot of times miserable because it's so cold or windy or hot sunny, or sandy. It all depends.
Well, we even just came back from Florida with all of the amenities, and we were so pumped to come home
to Colorado. Yeah,
because it's our space.
Oh, it's clean.
Our bed, our kitchen,
the
our
weather's
routine.
Perfect right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so nice.
That wasn't rugged, and we were still
ready
to get back.
It was just different.
Yeah.
It was different from our life.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. And so, can I tell you what's one thing or handful of things, whatever, an experience, a story where I have done something incredibly awful for our relationship while I was gone, and then another one where there's like something healthy I've done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I know I've run the spectrum over the last 5 years.
I'm trying to look at Mason's face right now and decide how much he wants me to share. And
Go ahead. No, it's fine.
Okay.
I probably have a pretty good understanding of.
So I feel like the Colorado Trail Race was the big one.
Oh, okay.
Because that led to the Southern Tier. Do you want to do that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Mason and I got married.
Sorry, the dogs are barking.
Yes.
They're the neighbors.
Very upset with us right now. Mason and I got married October 2014.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We had been together for 6 months, all of which was long distance. I'd also, in my defense, I would just like to put this out there. I also told you we didn't have to get married right away, and you asked anyway. So that's on you.
And we eloped in Vegas.
Right. Because why do things the easy way? So
No kidding.
So we get to Colorado. Everything is as fine as it's going to be for a new marriage, a new basement apartment, a new state, new jobs, all of that. It was as fine as it was going to be.
With nothing in place when we left.
Nothing. We were morons. It's fine.
We were children.
Yes.
Still are,
maybe
I'm sure.
That's better than morons.
Still are.
Yeah. So you decided to do the Colorado Trail Race with your friend Jordan, who's going to be the next most interesting man in the world.
Yes.
And that was in July of 2015 because you were gone for my birthday. That's when the habit of Mason being gone for my birthday first started.
Pro tip, do not. I must sound awful.
You're not, though.
Can I say, though?
Yeah.
I feel just such immense guilt about that. Now, then I just felt so selfish early on. And for about 2 or 3 of those, you pushed me out the door.
Oh, absolutely. No.
You there was one thing that popped up and you were like, you have to go do that.
It was it was the camping trip.
Yeah, and I was like,
church. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't miss your birthday.
I was like, ugh, whatever, I don't care.
And then it just,
yeah.
I'm very sorry about that.
Completely fine. I really don't care about my birthday.
I've tried to make up since.
You have. You've done great. Anyways, so you decided to go do the Colorado Trail Race with Jordan. And that was one of those trips, if we're talking about like that whole cycle thing, that I feel like was really good. I was really excited for you to go do this. You were a little bit hesitant, I think, only because it was the first trip you would have done since we got married. So maybe you were hesitant, maybe you weren't. A little bit.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
It wasn't going to be that long, like a week and a half.
Yeah, it was a week and a half.
Yeah.
Jordan is a great guy. I was super excited that that you were going to be spending time with him. He was going to be staying with us for a couple of days on either end of the trip. Just all around a good idea.
I think you were in summer break or you hadn't started teaching. You had a job that wasn't...
I was getting ready to co-teach first grade.
Yeah, so we had time off.
Right.
It wasn't super busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was just all around a good idea.
Yeah.
So you went and did the trip. And that's when that was the sleeping in the parking lot of the synagogue. Yeah. And driving back from Durango by myself at 4 a.m, which if you haven't made that drive, it's stunning. I highly recommend it.
It is beautiful.
And then I went to work.
Yeah.
For, during that week, went back to work because Summer Institute had started for school. And you called a couple of times talking about how unprepared you guys were, about how much fun you were having. I think there was somebody relatively famous on the bike trip that you guys...
cyclists.
Yeah, that you guys tried to like awkwardly take pictures with from the trail.
We won't mention names.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone. But it was very funny. And then you guys hitchhiked a lot that trip too.
Yeah, we ran out of time
because Jordan had to go back to work.
Yeah, he had a flight and we had to kind of jump and bikes on some road and it was a cluster, honestly. That's why I don't remember it in
but
such
I also feel
good
like
light.
You really don't? Because I feel like it was a happy, exciting trip. But
I'll say I was probably at the height of pretty serious depression.
Yeah.
That I had never gone through before, so I didn't really understand. Had no experience with depression, and just had no way to frame what was going on. So I was going through a lot internally.
You absolutely were.
And didn't know how to express it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Still learning, of course, but it's a lot better now.
Way better than it was.
Gosh.
So you had the trip.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, maybe that's a better way to phrase it. From what I'm hearing on the phone from you is it's crazy, but it's also so much fun. It's gorgeous out here. You guys are beat up. I think Jordan broke his thumb or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys are beat up, but it sounded to me
it was
like
an adventure.
you were having a really good time.
Yeah.
An adventure.
And we were. We were.
So you get done, and I pick you up at midnight from wherever the pretend finish line was in Denver.
Yeah.
It's, you guys smell horrendous. I have towels down in the car. I think we got Taco Bell, and you guys were both so excited about that on the way back to the house.
Yeah, we were.
And then the next couple of days, maybe the next 2 days or so, I felt like you seemed really off. Like you just seemed kind of distant, kind of short-tempered a little bit. It felt awkward between the two of us, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And some of that is the adjustment of leaving and coming back, but it felt like a lot. It felt like more than that. I remember Jordan went to go. He went for a walk. Actually, I think he went for a bike ride.
He probably did.
Because he's a lunatic.
Yeah.
But I think he went for a bike ride. And you finally sat down and said, I'm not okay. Said, I don't want to be married anymore. I think I've made a mistake. I was, Jordan and I did this race, and it felt so good to be out there. And I don't think that I want to give that up. But I don't feel like I can do it if I'm married. Yet the whole thing just, excuse me. You'll have to cut that out too. The whole thing just fell apart. Right? And so that was probably the hardest. Maybe not the hardest trip in terms of you being gone, but that was the hardest adjustment when you came back. Was just mentally what headspace you were in and saying, I think I've made a mistake. I don't want to do this anymore. And what happened was that led to the Southern Tier trip. So you came back in July.
Yeah.
And said, maybe this isn't for me. And we made it through the rest of that summer, talking, trying to figure things out, trying to deal with a depression that you had never been through before. And so then in January of 2016, you said, I think I need to do another bike trip.
Yeah.
And really make some tough decisions.
Yeah, it was the Southern Tier is coast to coast. So it was another cross-country trip. And it was what, San Diego to St. Augustine? Florida, yep.
Is that what it, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was a rough one.
That was really rough.
Because we left on bad terms. I was holding down the fort and working and not knowing how's this going to play out. When you finally hit St. Augustine and you maybe stop in Central Florida to see your family for a little bit, are you coming back? Or, you know what I mean? Are you coming back, but it's not permanent? That was a rough one. And it was so long. So 30-something days was enough for me to mentally prepare for this is what it will be like if it's just me from now on. That was a rough one.
Yeah, that was a rough year.
Yeah.
I would say I was very depressed. And I recognize it now. I recognize it now that anytime I feel like I'm unhappy in life, I just kind of have to say, all right, I must not be feeling well. And it doesn't mean I just reacted emotionally a lot. And I'm very sorry about that. That was
we just needed to go
very
through
hard
it.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. And it all came full circle. But that was a tough one. I guess that's what we mean when we say if you're thinking about going on a trip or your partner is,
Yeah.
the headspace that you're leaving in is really important to how you feel while you're separated.
Yeah.
So
Because I a few years later, this was probably 2 summers ago, I planned a 40-day trip that was actually raising support for mental health awareness
yeah,
after kind of feeling like that bout had passed.
right.
And it was kind of celebratory slash getting back up on the horse type thing. And
raising some awareness.
that was an awful way. And I know now we don't get to vet a lot of our guests, and we hear stories later, like some of you share, like, hey, just so you know, so and so you had on the show, I don't agree with what they're doing, or they left their family to do this, and you're
Right.
sitting here promoting their show. And if we've done that and it's offended you, I'm really sorry, because we don't have the ability or the time to really research every story, make sure these people are solid folk, make sure they're good communicators, because sometimes the interviews are duds. You know what I'm saying? They've just done cool trips.
Right.
And so we know that adventure a lot of time is an escapism, and it definitely has been that for me.
Yeah.
And if you know what that's like, I totally understand. And if it's put pressure on your spouse and your family, I've definitely been there.
Well, but I would even say with some of the guests you've had on the show like that, no matter how long you talk to them for, you're still only seeing
Oh, yeah.
one part of the picture. That Southern Tier trip was terrible. But we stayed married, and it kind of forced us to work through some things.
Yeah.
We're still married. And
are.
you've had other trips in the interim that have been 10 times better.
Oh, yeah.
So even if you're listening to an episode and going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this jerk face left and did, this, whatever the adventure was, it might only be one chapter of that book, one chapter of that story.
Absolutely.
So
that's a good point.
everybody needs a little grace.
So that was a negative. Is there anything I've ever done well? Any trip that the cycle was like really healthy?
Absolutely.
Went really well? And what can you share some insight about that?
Okay, so the 14ers trip that you just started talking about, Mason had the brilliant idea, and I was not being sarcastic. It was a brilliant idea to bike to and then climb all of the 14ers in Colorado.
Yeah.
And there are 54, 58?
I actually got the idea from one of our other guests, Justin Simone, and a guy named Joe Grant. Two ultra athletes. I am much closer on the spectrum to a couch potato than they are. And I'm not a couch potato, but
Like mid-range.
maybe I might be in the middle. I might be closer to. I had no business going out there trying that. I got through about a third of it before I was like, I can't do this anymore.
You did.
But anyway, we had budgeted 40 days.
Yes.
45, I think, max.
And it was the same thing again. This was, you missed my birthday again because you got a
permit. Yeah.
To get up on Calibra.
I got the permit and I said, Emily,
you're not going to believe this.
I hate it with all my heart. You will not believe the only day that they gave me an extra permit for was your freaking birthday.
But here's how different things were.
I will not go on the trip, I said. And I know that. Gosh, I feel so terrible.
No, because here's no, stop it. Here's how different things were. You left me a cake that I shared with the dog, which was very nice.
Yeah.
You left me notes all over the house and flowers. So you really stepped your game up to make up for not being there, right? But that was one where you and I were super solid. We were in a great space in our marriage.
Leading up to it, would you say better communication?
Absolutely. The trip was for the right reasons. The trip was not you running.
It was not escapism.
Right. It was,
I will say,
this is a cool idea. I'm doing it because I want to try and raise awareness for these mental health issues because I've gone through them. This is really important. It was all good reasons, good foundation, good communication. The trip didn't go the way you planned.
Yeah.
And I ended up coming to pick you up on Monarch Pass.
Yeah. It had busted my knee up.
Yeah. And you had sat in Silverthorne, I think, for like 3 days with bad weather. And it was getting where the trip
Or
was going to...
Silverton.
Silverton, excuse me. Was going to have to... The trip was going to have to be extended so much for the weather that it just got to be too much.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right time. And
come to find out, there was pretty bad arthritis in my knee.
Yeah. You have old man knees.
I do. So I can't go anywhere now. I need you.
No.
I need you to take care of me.
But that was... Stop. You're fine. I'm really not... It's going to be interesting.
She does not baby me. That's for sure. She's like, get up.
It's going to be interesting with me as a mother. I'm like, you're fine. Moving on. But that was a really good trip. And then you have had the shorter trips, the guided trips, the impact.
Yep.
Trips that...
About a week long.
They're about a week long. But you are...
I get paid. That helps.
It makes a little bit of a difference. But more than that, you are so happy.
Yeah.
Before and after those trips. You're excited when you're planning, even when it's stressful. And it is stressful. But you're excited about it. You're excited when you do call me or text me when you're on those trips about something that has happened during the day or what some of the people hiking with you have overcome or whatever it is. I've been on some of those trips with you.
Yeah, you get to go with me when your schedule
and they are phenomenal. So even when I don't go with you, I know how great they are and how important it is.
Yeah.
And you come back just giddy. You're on fire. And so those trips are like, bye, go, get out the door. I hope you have a wonderful time. I'll see you when you get back. And those are fantastic. They're totally worth it. They're good for our marriage, hands down.
They are. I would say I come back a better person from those typically.
Absolutely.
And when we get to go together, it's awesome.
Oh my gosh, it's a blast.
It's just so much fun.
Mason and I are almost polar opposites with things that we like and dislike. And it was definitely an opposites attract marriage. But I will say that we work really well together.
Yeah.
Between the guided trips, renovating our condo.
Yeah.
All of that. We work together pretty well.
We do.
Which is nice.
Yeah. It ain't perfect, but
no,
it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. And so what are some things if someone's going on an adventure soon, what's some things they can do to help they make that time better while they're gone for their spouse or partner or whatever situation? And how can they do that? How can they make it, healthy coming back? From your perspective, what's some things that, I could do better and inevitably other people could too?
Right. I think some of it would be, I can hear the dog.
Yeah. She's playing with her toy.
Yeah, her toy. But she's also
scratching.
Half black lab, border collie beaver. And I'm just wondering what
she's chewing on something.
She's chewing right now. It's very concerning. So I would say communication is big. There have been lots of times that you've called me at night and I have been really pissed off.
Why?
Because I haven't heard from you in a day and a half. Where I'm like, Mason, it's been 36 hours.
So what if I didn't have time? What could I do? Text you or just a quick call?
Texting makes a huge difference.
Okay.
Because I'm at work anyway. So
you can't talk.
I wouldn't like where I'd be on the phone, but not hearing from you at all is really challenging. And then there have been so many times that you have finally called, I'm in a super bad mood, and I kind of ruin your mood. And you tell me like, oh, I've been talking about you all day, and I've been telling this group that I'm with, my wife's a teacher.
How wonderful you are.
Well, I won't go that far.
Well, I will, because that's what happens. That's what I do.
But I don't know that you've been talking about me all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's a breakdown in communication there of I'm at work with 30 10-year-olds and I'm stewing because I haven't heard from you in a day and a half.
And I'm too busy talking about you.
And you're on a trip.
These 4-year-olds.
Right. Super excited, so happy, hiking around, talking about our marriage and our home and our life. And I have no idea that that's going on.
Right.
So even if you can't call, I know that damn phone is in your hand.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just send a text message. If that's all you can do, send me a joke.
I could set a timer, honestly.
Yes.
I just, the day slips by and
absolutely.
I'm incredibly, I don't know. I have a very short attention span. And,
you do.
And then
Well,
the whole
and
day
it
will slip
also-
by and I'll be like, hey, just forget to do things.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
No,
A lot of
I've been on
apologizing on
those.
this.
No, that was not the point of this. Because I've been on those trips with you, and it does fly by, and it is really busy. So, but keeping up that communication would be really big. And then I think when you come back, you usually do a pretty good job. It's a tough adjustment because I'm incredibly independent. I'm trying to think of like, I think easing into it in terms of just acknowledging that I've been solo for 7 to 10 days. And I probably have a system and a routine and all of that worked out to compensate for you being gone. And it's really hard when you walk in the door like a tornado. And I kind of have to scramble to accommodate somebody all of a sudden out of nowhere. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't feel like that was very clear.
No, it makes sense. And you're very clear and direct with your systems. So I can see them.
A hint of resentment there.
And I can just I can just kind of stand back and say, okay, this is what she's doing. Let me not get in that way of that train.
Right. I remember one time you came back from a trip. I don't even remember what trip it was, but I'm standing in the bathroom and I was flat ironing my hair to get ready to go to work.
Yeah.
And
very different than that. I won't shower for a week.
Right. Well, one of us has to stay employed. So, I am what the IRS considers head of household. But I was standing there flat ironing my hair, and you were telling me things about the trip and also asking me questions. And I bet it was like 5:30 in the morning. And I thought, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, you've been back less than 10 hours.
I remember that.
And I'm being bombarded.
Just like so stock.
You were so excited. And I was like, it's 5:30. I still have to go to work. My day hasn't changed at all. And you were in the bathroom with me after I'd had peace and quiet you were in the bathroom with me for 10 days.
And then I say, like, this is different, isn't it? This is a lot different for you, isn't it? And you lost it.
Yes.
That was funny.
And then I went to work.
Peace and I called you on your way, I'm sure.
Hey,
I forgot to ask you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't find XYZ because it's not in the same place you left it. So, yeah. Communication and then easing back into the routine, I think, are the two biggest.
Communication on, easing back in. Mm-hmm. What about before? We talked about that. Before, it's, I guess, just communication, making sure, like, hey, just so you know, this is why I'm, like, just talking about, like, here's the potential for resentment. Here's the potential for frustration.
Yeah.
I know that you have this responsibility while I'm gone. I know I won't be able to. Just being clear, like, before I go backpacking, I send you the GPS coordinates of where I'm going.
Yeah.
You might not know where the name of the trailhead is. I'll just send you the name. And just little things like that go a long way to say, hey, you're involved in this. If I don't call, you're the one that's going to have to communicate this to authorities or search and rescue or whatever. And I've learned communicating like that makes it go so much better.
Yeah.
And when you can communicate, I don't have service a lot of times, but I let you know when to expect a phone call.
Which is really helpful.
Yeah,
to say, hey,
okay, by noon tomorrow, you should hear from me.
Yeah.
If not, like, hold off until evening, because I might, have been slowed down or...
You had a flat tire on your bike.
Yeah, something like that, or just...
Not feeling good or something.
Yeah, phone's
like that.
dead. Yeah. But I try to avoid all that, but... I
would say the other big thing pre-trip is being painfully honest about... And it doesn't mean the trip would get canceled, but painfully honest about, am I really okay with you going? Is it something I really want you to do? What are the reasons for going on the trip? That sort of thing. Because I don't think that there's a faster way to build resentment than to be like, sure, go on this trip. That's fine. That's great. When in my head, I'm going, you jerk. I can't believe you're leaving me again.
Yeah.
This is so unfair. I have to go to work. That sort of thing. If you're not being honest with yourself about that, that is a recipe for disaster, as they say.
Right.
So you have, you know what I mean? You have to really understand before the trip
Yeah.
Are you going for the right reasons? Are you really comfortable with the other person going? Where do you stand?
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I will say that is huge. Because there are times when, I've had one of those impact trips where it was probably the most perfect trip that I've ever pulled off.
Yeah.
The guests were just amazing. I made friends out of it. I was so stoked. We were in Yosemite. It was amazing. I call you on the way home. You are so pissed at me. And I was
livid.
I was so stoked to tell you about it. And
I lit into you.
You lit into me, and I was like, it like ruined the whole thing. And then there's nothing that ruins a trip like coming home and then home life being just atrocious.
Yeah.
But we didn't leave it there. We talked through it.
Yeah.
And I don't look back on that as negative. Right. It's just like, it was frustrating at the time.
Absolutely. Well, and equally frustrating because you called.
And I didn't know what was wrong.
It was really late at night.
It was. Yeah.
And I said, Mason, I haven't heard from you in 2 days.
Yeah. And I thought for sure I had talked to you.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to go to bed. I've got to get up at the crack of dawn to go to work tomorrow. And I'm just now hearing from you.
Yeah.
And all you can talk about is how great it is instead of, oh,
yeah,
I left my wife hanging. But I was incredibly selfish and I put all of that on you on your way home when you were in such a good mood and kind of took all of that away. So it's hard.
I just didn't. I honestly thought I had talked to you the day before, and it was just a logistically madhouse of pulling off a backpacking trip with 15 other people.
And I think
you're in charge of.
That was before I had been on a trip with you, maybe? Because I do remember
we just got back from one.
Maybe we did.
I'm not sure actually.
I don't remember either. Because I do know the trips that I've been on, it's hectic. It's really hard.
I'd say it's like teaching.
Yeah.
But
in the woods.
In the woods and
in a tent.
And all day and all night.
Yeah.
And you're cooking all their meals.
Yes. Yeah. So I definitely have a better understanding now than I did, I think.
Yeah, and that's unique. That's not like one of my solo trips where I do have more flexibility of my time, where I can talk more.
Yeah. I think that's the only time that I've ever been almost like surprisingly aggravated. With
me?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
The rest of the time it's like, okay, I know this is coming. I know this will be hard. No, sometimes I know I'm going to be aggravated.
Right. No, it's, all this to say, I hope it's helpful. If not.
Sorry for rambling for 55 minutes now.
Yeah, for real. You might be like, oh, these newlyweds, they got nothing figured out. It's been 5 years, big deal.
Gross.
But, it's our experience. That's all we can share. I can't speak for you and your experience or what your relationship dynamics are like. This is us. This is what it looks like. This is what it's been. This is what it hasn't been.
Yeah.
And
there's also been
we're learning every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a lot of episodes that you've done where relationships haven't worked out.
Uh-huh.
And then there's been a lot of episodes that you've done where your partner is adventuring with you. You're adventuring together.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there is this kind of smaller third category where one person is at home most of the time while the other person is out adventuring. And that can be really challenging.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm, there's times
that it's good to talk about that.
And there might be jealousy,
Oh, absolutely.
I've got to do some cool things, I'll admit.
You've hiked down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and back, and I was so...
Oh, you were jealous about that? Yeah.
I was jealous and I was bummed. I was like, I wanted to do that together, but I can't tell you to skip it.
I had a chance to do it. Yeah,
like
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you, oh, don't go without me kind of thing. But yeah, I was like, oh, it's so unfair. I'm having a 10-year-old refuse to do their homework, and you're hiking down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
Right. Getting paid.
So, yeah, exactly.
No, it's, it's different for everybody. Like we keep saying, please, talk to your partner or whoever it is that you need to communicate with before your trip. Maybe you're the one at home. Maybe you're the one going. Maybe you flip-flop. You exchange.
Yeah.
Maybe you both like solitude and you say, I'm going this weekend, you're going next weekend, or taking my 2 weeks to do this. You can take your 2 weeks to do something. it's different for everybody. And I know
Yeah.
it's going to be different now with kids.
Sure.
We hear from a lot of guests who say it doesn't change a lot. It changes everything. Guys, it's really up to you. But for us, this is what it's looked like, because, a complete life is not just a life of adventure.
Yeah.
That for most of us, that's unsustainable. For the lucky few, and we get to talk to a lot of them, they get to make it a lifestyle for years, even decades.
Mm-hmm.
But for most of us, it's going to be a balance between family and adventure, and both of them are just unbelievably fulfilling.
Yeah.
But for a lot of us, we feel the need for both. So there's got to be a way to marry the two and be able to have both. So, if you are one of the many that have to balance family life with adventure life, I hope it's shared a little bit of insight. Any closing words or closing advice for someone going through this?
I'm trying to think. I know with kids it's going to be different, but even the 2 trips that you've done so far, the little weekend ones,
with you having Leon already.
Yeah, having Leon around, those, even then, that's been great. And
Yeah.
I just think if you're the person at home or the person that's staying home, to remember just to be really clear about what you need from your partner. I need you to text me more often. I need you to let me know where you're at.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just need you to feel bad for me that
Yeah, I do.
I'm stuck at work.
Yeah.
And you're
I definitely
off
do.
doing this.
I don't necessarily text you that. Maybe I should.
No, but just acknowledging oh, this kind of sucks from one perspective or the other. But being really clear about what you need. And even, like I said, with having Leon around, I know you're going to come back in such a good mood. And so it's like a reset button.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, if I can get through 3 days without you, I get a month of really solid husband. And that's a great trade-off.
I'm good for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to do it again.
I'll do it again. Yeah. And I will say, with having a baby, I will say for me, the cycle of being super stoked on the trip, right, going, leaving the trailhead, like, oh, this is going to be awesome, to, okay, this is hard, and then all right, I've had my adventure, I'm ready to come home. That cycle has gotten way shorter.
Sure.
To where a weekend is adequate right now. I don't know if that'll change as he gets older and as we get more used to it. I'm sure it will, because a lot of the people we talk to doing crazy big trips are parents, and I think that will get easier, or longer. But right now, it's like I'm really content with weekend trips, once a month or so, and just as a refresher, not even once a month, even once every 2 or 3, if you can swing it.
I'm going to say once a month.
It's been once a month so far.
I like my vacation time.
Yeah, well.
So, me and Leon.
I do this for you. I do this for you.
You're literally keeping our marriage intact. It's really helpful.
Well, I hope this has helped a little bit.
It probably did.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Well, Emily, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got to have you more often. We'll see how the download numbers look. Then we'll decide. No, I'm just playing. This will be good. Thank you.
Yeah. If you need me, I'm literally in the bedroom.
Okay. So. All right. Well, let's get the dogs in, and it looks like Leon's going to wake up soon. And
we did it, though.
We did it.
We made it through an interview.
Yeah, I'm looking at him on the little baby monitor, and he's sleeping.
Our kid napped the whole time.
Golly, we should check on him.
Oh, a miracle.
All right.
Okay, enough rambling.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for listening to this episode. It really means the world to us that you want to spend your time with us. If you'd like to help us further, please just leave us a review on iTunes, share us on social media, tell your friends about us. You can become a patron, a supporter of the show for $5 a month at patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. And if you know somebody that would make a good guest, reach out. We're always looking for good adventure and outdoor stories. And lastly, thank you to our sponsors, whose messages follow right now. Athletic Brewing makes the best non-alcoholic craft beer. Go to their website at athleticbrewing.com and use the code in our show notes to save 15% on your first order. After all this adventure talk, if you're needing some gear yourself, but you need some advice before buying, go to backpacktribe.com, where you can ask questions to the owners who have experience with all the gear, as well as all of it for sale right there on their website.